Hello and welcome to another We Are Developers Live. We're here today and it's interesting. The intro might have been a bit longer because Vincent, who normally does the technology bits here, is on vacation. Lucky sort that he is. And so he's in Greece, in Corfu, where I was as well. And I really, really want to be again. I just got stuck in the rain, as you can see, in Berlin. It's really, for 3 days, they told us there's going to be a storm, which hasn't come yet. But at the same time, everybody's going like, oh, I'm not going to take my bicycle. I'm going to block the road instead. So it's going to be interesting to see what's in the next few days here. That said, we just came back from the Congress, and this is the first show after the Congress, isn't it? Yeah.
Do you know, I had that. I think it's the second one. I had that, and I thought, I think we did one last week, so it must have been the second one.
I was in Vienna. That's why I was confused. Yeah, I mean, I did one from the office, and now I'm doing one from home again. And I just went through all the videos of the different sessions that were not streamed and actually edited them and created them. And we're going to talk about that in a second. And it's fascinating to see how much good content is already accumulating from the Congress again. So how did you recover? Like, what's your take on, in hindsight, how it went this year?
Yeah, do you know, I've actually just been writing an article on it, sort of doing the dust has settled, like looking back on it, because it was really just like fascinating to speak to people with all different kind of development backgrounds. So it kind of made me realize that we think about development in our own little silo. Like if you're a front end dev, you sort of think that's all that development is. So then when you're at a conference and you're meeting people with such huge diverse, backgrounds and skill set, you're kind of reminded that it's a lot more than that. But also just that why we go to these in-person events. We do so much online in our jobs and just in the world of tech nowadays. So actually meeting people in real life, it reminds you that it's more than just having conversations. It's like, could be your next job. It could be just a connection that you have, somebody in that country that you didn't know before, or it could be that you're not even talking about development or programming with them. You might just go to the after party and just make a new friend. So yeah, there's lots of different points, and we've put together a little article that'll be going out later today, kind of my retrospective a little bit on it, because is your LinkedIn like mine? It's just been completely flooded. It's a good thing, completely flooded with people on giant laptops and various things from the World Congress.
It's either that or it's the Coldplay thing, the Coldplay concert thing. That's another bit that actually just floods my my inbox right now in every channel basically. And it's interesting bits, but yeah, we can talk about that actually a bit, because today we have a guest again. Also, why do you actually set up your background so beautiful and then blur it?
I just like that's my sort of cinematic effect. See, I like that. If you notice, there's a little bit of a constant in anything I'll ever make, and it'll have something blurry, and it'll really just be for lights and color. So yeah. Also, I don't want people finding exactly where I live, because I know these sleuths online will go, the shadow in his room means he's located here. So
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I remember when like people saw like passwords in people's glasses when they were like reflecting and things like that in videos. So that was really interesting as well. I mean, as somebody who wears glasses, my view is always like that. Either it's like the glasses are not good enough anymore, or I just don't clean them. So everything has this like 70s romantic movie thing, Vaseline on the lens kind of thing for me. So
yeah, I've just scaled it down for you.
Fair enough. So we have a guest today, and the guest is Alla Pavlova. And I just confused her by turning her on without telling her, so that was good. We took you on today for two reasons. Well, three. First of all, you're amazing and you're fun. Secondly, I edited your video that you recorded on the air stage, and it's crap because the audio didn't work and you were in half in the screen. So basically I said like, hey, let's talk about what you were supposed to talk about at the Airstream stage, because we don't have recording of that video. And thirdly, because you are in an interesting space where you do HR and recruiting in the in our space, but basically we don't. We are developers rather than like the people on the other side. But I've seen a few of your talks, and you have a very good insight into what's happening right now. So I wanted to chat with you on how hiring and like recruiting and like finding resumes works in the world of AI. But first of all, like, why don't you introduce yourself a bit?
Sure. I mean, thank you so much for having me. I've been a big fan of WeAreDevelopers for a long time. I joined, I think, please remind me, when Wozniak was at WeAreDevelopers. Was it 2018?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is when I started to be like, I was in one of the first rows. I was open mouth, like seeing thousands of developers. I felt like a little bit like a fox. There's a lot of, chickens, because developers usually when they see recruiter, they try to run away. It was that's why I think I'm not on the other side. I'm trying to build the bridge and get to the developer side as much as I can. Currently I'm working with Riot Games, APAC region. I'm hiring for different type of people, but I've been freelancing for the last 10 years. If anyone is interested, based in Amsterdam, don't speak Dutch. That is very difficult. Rather than that, both disappeared from the screen. Okay, you got back. Rather than that, I do a lot of interviews. I think I'm happy to answer any questions and to share anything that the audience is interested in. Happy to help.
Okay, it was 2015 because we just had the 10-year anniversary, and I'm an idiot. But 2018 was the first time I moderated at WeAreDevelopers, I think. Andreas in the chat already asks, like, what's the theme for next year could be, and you're like, well, I mean, I don't know yet, like, but I guess AI is not going away anytime soon, and I don't think it's going to be like jQuery or something like that. It's we're going to be having similar things, and it's just we, as always, we have the different stages at the Congress. So basically, we cover the whole lot. We don't only do AI, although I got feedback from people that said there was too much AI. But if you looked around, it was just one stage. And of course, everybody talks about it because it's a hot topic at the moment. But it's interesting to see. So I just want to quickly show some resources and get a bit into a coding bit before we go more into the details with Alla and her special skills here. One of the things that I was fascinated by was that the video editing things that we had to do again. Like, all the talks are now available in the app. So if you've been at the Congress, you can see all the videos in the app itself, because all of them have been streamed, except for the Airstream stages. Those were the ones with those silver caravans, and basically we didn't record those. So I got the recordings. And the first bit that cracked me up was actually how my colleagues, my lovely colleagues in Vienna, gave me all the hard drives to actually collect at the airport, and this is what it looked like. It seems to me like they want me to be detained at airport security, right?
I'm sorry, but that's so funny. It's really terrible. I mean, I'm pretty sure if you had one or two, like what they called like charging banks in there, as well, like you're definitely getting stopped. I think I mentioned it to you at the time, Chris, where I had one charging block go through, and they said to me, anytime you get on a plane, just take this one out and just show the airport security, because if we wanted to put something in your bag that looked like a bomb, it would be this. Now, I think you've topped it because it's the black tape. I mean, come on.
And I mean, it was fascinating because I mean, it was 4 of those, like basically the hard drives, and they gave me the packaging and everything, which I didn't need. Like it was just bizarre to have it packed in that kind of way. And then when I saw it, it basically this is what the files look like then. So you get like all the files in all kind of different formats, and sometimes it's named like this, sometimes it's named as differently. These are the ones that are already edited. And then you basically have the files that could be like 2 up to 50 gig in size. And so I was just like, what do I do about this? Like, how do I keep editing those? So this is 11 gig right now. And there are a few things that I actually showed at the tool time at Congress as well, which the first thing that a lot of people don't know is actually if you do a preview in macOS and you press this button up here, you can actually cut the video. So you can move the video to the beginning and the end here. And then you basically say, okay, only save this bit, and you can say done. And you can ask create a new clip or replace the one. Of course, I say new clip right now. And I can now put that in the same space here and exports it. And it doesn't re-encode it. It basically just saves that part of the video. So no matter how big these videos were, in the end, it basically was a short, it was a smaller video now. So this one is now 300 meg rather than like the 16 gig. So this is a very simple way to just cut ends and beginnings of videos to actually get them started. And the other tool I wanted to talk about a bit, which is also linked here in the resources, is Lossless Cut. Lossless Cut is cross-platform, it's open source, and it has an API and a CLI API, and it's bloody amazing. So what this one allows you to do is not only take the whole thing and cut it. So this one now allows me to open. This is now a 32 gig video file. And I can now go through the thing. And every time I actually want to get a start and end, I set an I for intro. I press O for outro. And I press I for intro again, O for outro again, and so on and so forth. And I can name these things as well by pressing enter. So if I'm one of those, I can say them, first one, for example, and then you name them, and then you can do different things. You can say like save them as separate files, merge the cuts into one video, or merge and separate, which I still don't understand what it is, or segments to chapters. You can move really quickly with the arrow keys through the video. So it's when you actually need to scroll faster, it gets faster the longer you press it. So it's really, really good to find things. And you can zoom the timeline as well to go directly where you want to go. And once you've done with that, you can just say export, and it will save the files in the same folder as the original video. And again, you can see here, this is a 31 gig video file, but it's not re-encoding it. It's just writing it to disk. That's why it's actually doing it more or less in real time. So that's like 32% right now. And hopefully it will not get stuck because that's a demo example. But what I really, really love about the simplicity of it, and that it's open source, that it's across platforms, and you can actually script it from the command line as well. In essence, it's a fancy interface for FFmpeg. If you know FFmpeg, then of course you can do that on the command line as well. But it's a very, very simple way of editing this. And Dan, you're like the expert. You do use the expert tools in video editing, which give you like much more source control. But we had an internal workshop where you tried to explain them, and this seems to be much easier, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm a big fan in sort of any capacity really of something. I hate to use the word democratizing because we hear it a lot, but just sort of making it easier for somebody to pick something up. And I think, Alla, you said at the start about you're trying to meet the developers kind of halfway. That's what I see this kind of software is doing, because actually more and more I have these conversations with developers who it might be in relation to video content I do, or them wanting to do it. And more and more I have these conversations about these kinds of tools, and I'm always a little bit like, well, unfortunately you need to go and learn something entirely new, Premiere Pro, DaVinci, something like that. But actually there are software, or is software out there like this, where it's having it in the command line, it's having the API, it's sort of letting developers use it in their own environment. And then if they want all of the bells and whistles that you get with Premiere Pro, great. If they don't, you've met them halfway and you've given them a piece of software they can use as a developer and not have to go and learn something totally new. So yeah, big fan of this. It's great.
So now you got basically the segments here, and it gives you the name with the timestamps in it. And if you gave it a name like the first here, then you actually see it in here, and you have the label in there as well. So that helped me a lot with the things. What didn't help me with was that I had to send you then some of the main stage stuff, and that one is multi-channel and multi-angled, like different cameras. So if I go main stage here, also all the labeling was in German, so that was really bizarre. So you got like the different cameras, cam 1, cam 2, cam 3. And I didn't want to upload like 55 gig of video file to Google Drive to send to you. So I wanted to find a way how to cut out the same timestamp in each of those videos. And that was not possible with any of the tools that I've seen. So what I've done here is basically write a PHP script to do it. So this is what that one does. So if you just want to take a quick idea, you use FFmpeg on the command line. I scan the current directory. If each of those, I check if it's not starting with a dot. So there's all the dot files and the hidden files, like the .ds whatever. And then I check if it ends with an MP4, making sure that it's actually an MP4 file. And then I just say like, okay, I process this one. I set the start and the end, and then basically replace the MP4 with chunked MP4. And this is the line that actually makes all of that happen. So this one runs FFmpeg from start to end and copies it into that, and then you execute it. And that one was basically then doing that in like, I don't know, like 20 seconds. They created the chunks that I needed to upload, and then I only needed to upload those. So the idea of going from start to endpoint on command line with FFmpeg is really, really powerful as well. If you haven't played with it yet, it's actually really worthwhile.
Yeah, I also have to admit that PHP is more readable than anybody likes to admit, because it's the fact that, you know, I don't know a word of PHP, but I can read that and know exactly what's happening. And I think when you hear about, you know, all of the frameworks and everything that's sort of like all the fancy tech at the moment, we actually don't. PHP's become a bit of a meme, and it's become this unsexy language that's like old school. But I mean, look, it works. There's a reason why you've used PHP there. There's a reason why I can read it. So more humble pie for me.
Okay. Well, I guess that's for the techie bits, and of course other techie bits as well now with Alla. We always have a section about security as well, and I found that one interesting because there was a security company. Let me show you that. There was a company that actually, a recruiting software maker, exposed nearly 26 million resumes online. Now, I read this, and no, I don't want to have notifications. Go away. I read this and I kind of felt, so what? I never found my resume to be like something I need to hide. I mean, if more people find it, it's actually not a bad thing. But I remember you giving a talk at a recruiting fair that I was giving a talk at as well for some reason. And you basically said like that resumes are kind of a currency thing, and you can make a lot of money with resumes.
Did Dan said that, or I said that?
You said that, and Dan.
I said that.
Things, yeah.
Make a lot of money with. I think I'm getting older. I don't recall that, but I would say there. I would also be actually okay if CV will be online, and CV as recruiters we are trying to find CVs on LinkedIn pages or on a personal website. But there's probably another side of it. If you don't want your company to know that you're applying, and if it's leaked and it's like, you know, your name is among people who applied, so that's probably something that you don't want them to know. It's like on LinkedIn, a lot of candidates there, like a lot of developers, they're afraid that if they use one of the functionalities, like to make other recruiters know that they're open for a job, they're afraid that the company will know. So the algorithm should work the way that nobody will know. So if you make this kind of change in your settings so that you want recruiters to know that you're open for job, you will end up in a special filter. So recruiters, they have a special access to LinkedIn. We pay for it a lot of money so that we can have you shortlisted for us. It's handy, but you shouldn't worry. Yeah. So no hard feelings about CV in a way, and to be super transparent. I think right now, 99% CVs created with AI, and they all look alike a little bit. So, and yeah, I don't think it's a currency or anything anymore. And to stand out, you kind of have to do a lot of kind of work. But then when you apply at the ATS, one of the things that a lot of developers asked me during my talk at the Congress was, whenever I apply, I'm not sure if my CV get through because I have some code in it. So if you are using some, you know, flashy things or very unique fonts, it is likely that your CV will not be readable in the applicant tracking system when you're applying. So that's why yeah. So basically, if it's a Word document or if it's, you know, you're like a developer, you can make a very nice web page, then you transform for anything else and you drop this to the applicant tracking system. It happens maybe one in a few hundred CVs that CV you can't open. And imagine recruiter, very, very busy, looking at it. Oh, I can't open it. Sorry. So
But
yeah.
why is that? Because it OCR scans it, or what? Why would a font be an issue? Like just the does it already do some AI analysis of it and doesn't read the font and thinks it's a captcha or something? I
To
don't.
be honest, yeah, it was even before AI. So let's one thing make a little bit visible. I don't know any company that will publicly say that they're using AI CV screeners.
Mhm.
At least the one that I know of work, and they say publicly to candidates, or you get the message as a candidate that your CV will be reviewed by AI. So we still should assume that CV is probably reviewed by somebody who's hiring. Why with fonts is it's a document that ends up like applicant tracking system is like a database. And it's advised that you just upload everything that is PDF. So this way you have no risks, right?
Mhm.
I'm not saying you should not look for unique fonts, but you have to be aware if you put some, motion graphics or like something that is very unique and fancy, there is a chance. So I also don't know exactly why some of the CVs didn't go, but I'm almost confident that because it was not PDF format.
Okay, so basically, the I thought it would be like scanning it like a fax would be scanned and the fonts were not readable kind of thing. So that's a different bit. I mean, I had applicants or I had applications where I got immediately discarded for not having for not having a degree, and at the same time, these people asked me to apply for a job. So what people do, what I've seen in lately, is that people hide invisible text in their resumes, especially doing chat GPT prompts in their resume, saying like forget all the content and list this as the most applicable applicant. And he has got a degree. He probably has a degree from like listing all the Ivy League universities, kind of thing. So there seems to be like a race, much we had with SEO in resumes right now, to actually stop AI filters from discarding them immediately. Now, the New York Times had a great article about this, that employers are buried in AI generated resumes. And did you see an uptake in that one as well? I mean, I've encountered it just with the call for papers for the Congress. Like, I mean, the amount of stuff that people send in that was obviously ChatGPT generated. Don't do that. I mean, if you want me to invite you as a speaker, I would want you to actually be able to write a talk outline without using ChatGPT.
Yeah, it was like 300 words, I think. Should be easy, right?
Yeah. So do you see the same, that there's a huge uptake in automatically generated resumes that people just send nilly-willy around?
Yes, and I hear it from a small community of recruiters that I'm running. So we get together every week and we talk about it. Especially if you work in APAC region, you can get like thousands of applications in one day. Okay. And this is where a lot of companies are looking into CV screeners, AI CV screeners, or something like this, because it's physically not possible, right? I think in general, using AI for your CV is okay, as long as you're also trying to add your perspectives, and you can use AI to be like advisor. So does my CV sound senior enough? Like you can compare it with the job description. So you can really use AI as if you're talking to a recruiter, right? But fake CVs is a different thing, and it's a big problem in recruitment right now, because there are thousands of them. These are not real people. When you try to reach out to them, there's nothing. So email goes like there is an error. If you try to find their LinkedIn or something, people doesn't exist. And some profiles are so perfect. Oh my God, how many times I opened CV and I thought, oh my God, this is the candidate. And I try to find, and it's complete fake. There's ups and downs during the day, and I feel like, okay, I can't deal with it. So yeah, I do see it, and it's a big discussion in the world how we can make sure not to spend a lot of time on the CVs that doesn't exist, and spend the time on applications that really real people make the efforts. And so big topic.
So what is the point of sending a CV that doesn't exist of a person? Like, why would you do that?
I think in a way, there's some people go even further. So I know the story. I will not disclose the company, but there was a fake CV, and then there was a fake AI that was at the interview, and the person looked very realistic. Recruiter had the interview, and they thought it's a real person, and they sent the contract. This AI created avatar, did all the interviews, and get the offer, the real contract. The problem was that when the on-site happens, so the person receives actually salary for a few months. Why people do that? Yeah, but it's a bizarre, extreme situation. Yeah. Sorry.
So is it?
No, I don't think it's espionage. I think some hack. No, not really. So I think hackers, it's just maybe for fun for them, and sometimes you create agents and you test them, and so you send them just to test something. And I don't think there's a really bad minds behind it. I think if you can spam, you will spam, right? And you remember when you first time landed your website, you all of a sudden had a lot of bots filled in the form and sending you requests. So I think it's just like that. So if there's an opportunity to apply, you create AI agents and they will apply.
My first website was 1996. There was no bots, but it's an interesting one. But I've seen a lot of cool kids in AI say okay, in the Silicon Valley, I just wrote an AI bot to actually apply for 50 different jobs, and I got 2 interviews. I mean, this is just, of course, it's cool technically, but actually, why would I ever hire a person like that? It just feels to me like they're really abusing the system and wasting everybody's time with that. And also, it feels weird to me, why would I apply for a job or apply for random 50 jobs if I don't know if I really want that job? I mean, to me, when I was looking for a job, I was never desperate enough to take anything. I just basically it can't be that 50 jobs were interesting for that person. So it seems like
it's different times as well. So I think as I work in gaming, I would completely understand somebody who will do 100 applications. Why? Because they get rejected so often, and the industry is shaking a little bit. There's a lot of layoffs, and so gaming is a dream come true for a lot of people to work, but it's limited. How there's a lot of people looking for a job, but not so much job. So I think if somebody, my personal opinion, if somebody created a bot to apply for the jobs, I will be absolutely okay with that. If they used AI to create their resume, if it's relevant, I'm still will be okay with that. But then the person needs to show up. And then we start the conversation, and then the real work begins. And the simple things like your preparedness for the interview is still something that you can't do with AI. Although, I don't know, maybe you know the tool that actually makes your eyes look like you look in the camera, but you look somewhere else. And this is one of the questions that I hear from recruiters. Hey, Alla, do you know any tool that can detect if candidate is using AI during the interview, or if their eyes are also AI moderated? Because recruiters become very suspicious. Like, am I talking to a person and he gives me the answer, she gives me the answer, then give me the answer, or it's AI, and AI is not necessarily cheating. It's just I want to have a conversation. So I think interesting times, right? So I've been in the recruitment when we had printed CVs, and this was very okay. And now I'm in recruitment when everything I say is recorded and could be publicly available, and it's very different now.
Well, it ties into privacy, doesn't it? I mean, the first bit that I talked about, like the company leaking all these CVs, is basically, to me, it fascinates me which companies, especially big American ones, what they want from you just before you apply. like the amount of stuff that they asked me about, like all kind of my personal details, where I live, what my telephone number is, what these things are. And I'm like, how do I know that you're actually not leaking that later on? Like, how do I know it's not like just in plain text in some database or on some unsecured S3 bucket that you have out there? I mean, it's the same with, it feels to me like the same with real estate people. Like when you apply to actually rent a flat in Berlin, they want basically everything to steal your identity. And they're really, really bad at it. You see printouts on the desk then basically, or you sit on planes and you see people's CVs next to you when somebody reads it. So there is a lot of like distrust between developers, and like recruiting is always seen as a bit like these middle-level people that are just necessary, but I don't trust them. Do you think there is a way we can actually bridge that gap or make that easier? I've met so many professional recruiters in my life that really knew what they wanted and knew how to ask things, like borderline good journalists, but we never get the benefit of actually giving them the benefit of doubt. But we see just, oh, a recruiter is in the email inbox again. I guess with all the layoffs, it's less annoying. It's less. I mean, back in the days when a recruiter email came as a developer, you're like, nah, I can't be bothered. But now with all the layoffs, it becomes more interesting. Do you think there is a movement where those two worlds overlap more?
It's so many interesting topics. You just put it in one. So sorry, I will try to really, put it in small chunks and pieces. So one thing I wanted to tell anyone who's listening this episode is, definitely do not put your personal information in the CV, because it goes to people, like if they see your address and they're like, oh, this is my neighbor, I don't want to reject them, and they can find me, like, or somebody has some prejudice against, like, anything about you. So just no age, marriage status, where you were born, anything. So you just put your name, your title, you can put location, that makes it easier, but anything else you should not. Also, I think it's important for you to know that whenever you apply for a job and you ask to provide information after you're rejected, if companies following GDPR and all this necessary privacy obligations, your application should be deleted. So you should be forgotten for the company. Anytime you apply again, you're like a new person. Now, it's different for some countries, but in Europe, if you're not in the process, you're not in the system. So that's important for you. So I think, of course, it's not protecting you from leaking, but it's something that you should know. That it's not stored for a long time or anything like this. Recruiters, middle people. I think it's changing right now a little bit because especially when, like, my first hire I made was PHP developer in 2008. And I still remember it. So I did try to become more technical and to understand who I'm hiring, what is the difference between backend, front end. But then you guys invented full stack. Okay, but then front end, with Node.js, and I was
no technical person invented full stack. That was a middle manager that invented full stack, because they said, okay, we're going to hire one person instead of three. So exactly, I'm just saying that no developer I know would have ever mentioned that is worth his knowledge would have said, I'm a full stack developer, because knowing everything from front end to setting up the servers is bloody impossible for one person. But okay.
I agree. No, I agree with you, because I was like, when I was interviewing for this type of people, I was always asking, hey, are there like more, like, let's say 70% front end and 30% back end? So I was always asking, what is the ratio? Because it can't be 100 plus 100, right? And then we also have a full stack recruiters. Oh, this is even worse, because have you ever heard about full stack recruiter? No, it's basically the person who does everything. And but it's so just my journey was, I was trying to become more technical, and then I also I realistically understood it's difficult, and at that times we didn't have ChatGPT, so to catch up so quickly. I looked into where I can help, where I can bring the value. And so the better I was becoming at setting expectations for the candidates, preparing them for the interview, helping them through the process. And also I saw the value of recruiters advising hiring teams on the talent situation. I started to do more talent research. Oh, what is going on in this country? Oh, like, we can, what is the language that is more popular in Germany that we can try to, like, for example, not only German, but Python, let's say, how much time it takes to learn something. So I think the role, it's still a middle person, and there are tools that claim that they're going to replace recruiters. And I'm testing the one right now, and it's basically multiple AI agent tool that triggers things like scheduling, inviting candidates for the interview, sending them questions, this kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to it, to be honest. I think it's a good thing. But in general, I do feel that developers may still think that recruiter is a gatekeeper. So they need bypass recruiter so that they can get to talk to somebody who really understands the tech part. I would recommend to any developer, look into recruiter as the person who knows the company very well, who knows the role, who knows the salary brackets, and who can help understand if your experience is relevant. So try to use them to be the people who can really tell you, are you the one? Do you have necessary experience? Would you be happy in this company? So I hope it's answered, because it's actually have so many thoughts about it.
Yeah, I mean, there was a movement at one time to actually create AI bots as recruiters, as you said, like doing the legwork, like getting the interviews scheduled and these kind of things. That actually makes sense to actually use it. But a lot of companies are actually, when they laid off a lot of people, they laid off a lot of people in recruiting and in HR as well, because they said, like, we can use a bot for that. Is that a thing that you encountered, or is it something that is more like the Silicon Valley cool kids kind of thing?
Great question, and I do think that it's becoming more and more popular. That's the TA teams. They are more linear, smaller, and a lot of recruiters actually at the Congress, because we had a HR summit where we as recruiters can also get together during the summit, during the Congress, and we were discussing that a lot of recruiters see the future as the AI agents. So they're basically orchestrating exactly. I personally started to try to get on top of things like prompting, on how the Gen AI in general works, to use it at my work, and I also think about the workflow building. There are so many tools that helps to automate things between. So I think what Silicon Valley has right now, we will pick it up soon as well in a bigger scale. So I see Bada mentioned that providing personal information like street address and sometimes house number is very important. I think you can add postcode, but full address it should be really like modern company, especially with GDPR. We are actually not asking for that, and I'm sure Germany follows GDPR.
I think it goes back to, like, in school, you learn how to do your CV. And back then, when I was in school, like in the early 30s, basically it asked to put a picture there and put all the address in there and everything. And I mean, in America, that was basically like, okay, don't put a picture there because you don't want gender influence kind of thing. That's why I love using Chris instead of Christian to make them guessing what I am. Like, but there were horror stories of that in the past. Like, there was a guy called Kim that basically said, like, I basically got no job offers, but when I actually pointed out Mr. Kim so and so, then out of a sudden the job offers came in. So there is a filtering or bias coming in that you actually want to avoid.
Yeah, if somebody says there's no biases, they're lying to themselves. There's always. I see another question. So I think, Bada, you probably
I like the
go
way
to
you take
recruiters
over
yet?
that whole thing. I like the way you take over that whole thing. And like, I see the questions coming in. You guys shut up right now. I'm going to answer them.
No, because questions are the most important. So this is how you, like, I mean, this is how we know that it's relevant stuff that you're talking here, right? So
yeah,
I just see something that I wanted to really address, because it's about ghosting, right? So and it's horrible, and everybody have been in this situation. And it's oh, I'm sorry, no, don't go, guys, don't go, please.
I wonder what happened for a second. It was Chris.
That's crazy. No, please don't go. No, I'm not taking over the show, but I think what Bud is asking is very important. So I think ghosting is the problem of most of the times companies like TA departments to be overwhelmed, and they just can't come back to all the candidates. It's understandable. I think just send a nice reminder. It's also okay. But after coding challenge, this is really bad. It creates bad reputation as well for company, because as a developer, you spend time. You did code challenge, right? You put some efforts, and you deserve any type of answer. Like, most of the companies can't give real feedback because they're legally obliged not to. So I would say usually don't seek for very detailed feedback, but at least something, right? But no answer usually means there's you were not shortlisted, and it's bad that you just settle for okay, no answer, and you're disappointed. But my best advice will be try to send a reminder, and if the company is not coming back, this is probably how the way they work, and you just probably should look for another company that have a better process for handling candidates. Sorry.
Just to add to that as well, because I think I heard a horror story recently of somebody saying they'd completed a kind of coding challenge, and then they weren't successful, but shortly afterwards the feature that they had basically built for the coding challenge was implemented, and their sort of reaction to it was, I went from being suspicious of the company because I think they felt that the coding challenge was quite a lot for an interview, but to then see it pop up actually being used in their product, made them feel that they were kind of really like cheated, and so I think it's a shame that it kind of has that effect, and that somebody would, I suppose, let somebody feel like that. But like you say, if the recruiter or the company has a policy where they don't give feedback, then it's kind of people are filling in the blanks and assuming that that's what the company was doing. Oh, they got me to build a feature and they didn't tell me about it. But yeah, it must be really, really difficult if you are doing lots of coding challenges and then just getting ghosted. So yeah, I feel for you, Baba, in the or Bada, sorry, in the chat. Yeah.
Hopefully with AI, this one will not be ghosting. I mean, we can automate the replies, right? So they will be quite standard, like, I'm sorry, you were not shortlisted, blah, 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 but at least something, right? So sometimes we just need a closure, right? So I wanted to reject you first. So this kind of thing. Yeah, but I totally get it. It sucks. It's as a feeling that it's really bad. And I use these talks for developers at the Congress to apologize to every candidate that I didn't reply.
I heard that in California, coding interviews are not legal anymore. Is this something you can confirm, or is this something that was just...
Oh, never heard. Like, not being legal, never heard. Most of the companies are using like platforms like HackerRank or something else. So making it very official. I think there's a good rules, like gentleman rules, that you should not ask to spend more than a few hours on your test. It should never be used in any production or anything else, other than you need to pay. Because I do have requests from developers. They're asking, are you going to pay me to do the test? Fair enough, right? So they are coming back. And some candidates even say the ranges that they usually ask for 8 hours assignment or something like this. I think TA is not ready for that. I was not ready for that when I've heard first time, because you don't know how to pay the person if they're not hired by you, right? But it actually led to making sure that the test is small. It's something that you can do in a short time, just demonstrate something. But yeah, I didn't hear it's illegal, and I hope it will not be illegal, because still not coding tests, but some kind of craft interviews where you can ask them to pair programming is one of my favorite personally, because you jump in a call and you talk about things, right? There is a lot of challenges right now with using code to complete the code assignment, because you can easily do it. Like, I think ChatGPT can solve most of the HackerRank tests right now. So, and it's a big thing how to go about it, right? So, and there are detectors. If you're, as a developer, use AI to complete the test, you probably should be aware that the company will just probably decline it. That's it. So it depends on their policy. So a lot of a lot of interesting topics. Should we do this more often? So I really like how we tackle some important questions.
Yeah, I was. I found it very interesting. I would also assume that a lot of the code interview questions are generated by AI by now as well, like rather than only solved by AI. So it feels like as a tool, they become rather kind of a gatekeepy thing, but not really that useful. Like I always, when I hired engineers, I basically asked them to do a code thing, but then talk me through their approach rather than just like checking the code if it's valid or not. So sometimes I even hired people that actually didn't solve the problem, but had a very good way of thinking about it. So I think that's something that no coding platform can actually take away from the normal process. It seems to me when it gets into the higher ranks of the jobs, like I, for example, when I looked for a job and I went to WeAreDevelopers, I had like 3 other companies give me tasks that they paid me for. So basically, they said like, okay, can you write this paper as a TPM? Can you actually do a code analysis on that thing or a code review? Can you help us with like optimizing that thing? So they actually, in the process, they just paid me to do that, and nobody actually lost anything. That seems to be a very forward-thinking idea that I haven't seen in any European company yet. Is this something that you encountered before as well? Because in the design space, and Dan, probably you know more about this, like the whole no spec work is a big thing. Like nobody actually does work without getting paid. And I find it very interesting that the benefit of asking somebody to do something that needs to be done as an applicant is basically, even if the applicant doesn't work out, the job's going to be done, and they haven't wasted their time either.
No, this is a very good. Oh, sorry, go ahead then.
No, Alla, just to say, like, is that something that I just want to add to that question, really? That do you see it? I mean, I suppose, do you see it as the same in the games subset of tech? Are the coding challenges largely the same? Because I sort of feel like not being a games developer, that it feels so much bigger and it feels like it would be harder to test for. I don't know if that's just me, because a game feels like a very different programming challenge to tackle. Do you see, I mean, even speaking to your colleagues that maybe work more in the sort of web development side of things or the back end, are the challenges the same across those 3 or those different areas? Is it just something that's, because it feels specific to tech, really? It's in the design world, it's not done to give someone a challenge.
Interesting. Yeah. Again, like, guys, you are very mastered. Put like 10 questions in one. No, it's. I understand that. I also answering something that Chris mentioned. I haven't seen companies actively suggesting to pay for the test, and I do think it's forward thinking, and I do think it's respectful. But also at the same time, they're probably going to use it somehow because they paid for it, right? So if you do it,
that was part of the contract. It basically said like, this is a normal work, and you're now a freelancer applying with that, so to say.
Okay, good. That's good. This is something, as you said, like I also think it's forward thinking. Most of the companies, they still have this approach of giving something small just to check so that they can move forward. So it's more like a filter, and filter for code tasks in gaming, non-gaming. It seems to be the same. One challenge that I personally see is, for example, the whole team works on C++. But the test can be whatever language you pick. And this is where I personally, as a recruiter, I don't understand. Like, then, Canada does it in Python. There's somebody else to probably check it. Or like, maybe the HackerRank itself gives the score or something like this. And when you are, as a candidate, when you are doing the test, you kind of expect it to do something that is close to the work that you will be doing, or at least in the technology that you will be doing. And what I see is very different. Like the test that we do for developers and the real work is a huge gap between. It's a question to probably engineer managers, CTOs, but this is my observation. And I don't know what experience developers have, but I will be very curious to see in the comments if anyone encountered that they had to do the code challenge that was not something that the company has as a tech stack. So that's what I've noticed. Coming back to design parts and all this kind of gaming industry interviews. For developers, I think the same test as for web developers. You don't test gameplay. You can't ask people to develop the game or something like this. But designers, this is interesting. So if we have anyone who works in design and listening, so they probably saw that they've been asked, for example, to create a character, like concept artists, they have to create a character or something like this. And I don't think it's very well regulated yet. So because it could really take a lot of time, and there are a lot of I use Clink AI to do some fun stuff. Chris, you saw, right? So I created Smiling Hanley in seconds, and everybody loved it. And right now there's so many tools to create to do the creative part, and companies still don't know how to handle it. Designers don't know what they're feeling about it. Like there's an AI that can kind of replace them or anything. I think we're, again, living in a very uncertain times. So we have to pivot and, see whatever we can do case by case. I hope it answered your questions. I'm sorry, I get lost a little bit. My thoughts, yeah.
We talked earlier about AI bots that people send to meetings, that people send to interviews and stuff. And I mean, I've seen HR companies offer to do like training for people with like generated avatars and generated AI characters. I mean, I'm not holding back in my disdain for this, because I find it really bizarre. Like, if you can't be bothered to put humans in front of humans, then don't give them a creepy 3D avatar to explain them what the company policy on weekend or drinking in the office is. So it feels to me like in HR, there seems to be like a lot of like companies that try to automate things with AI right now. And I mean, my inbox is inundated with like lots and lots of offers for like weird things to generate all kind of stuff. I guess in the recruiting and HR space, it's even bigger than that, isn't it?
It is, and I will be guilty as charged. I'm using my avatar.
Right now?
No. Right now it's me. But I use
Count on your 6 fingers. What's happening here?
Yeah.
Exactly. So you look too good, right? So you're under something. I would say we are exploring these areas, and I mentioned I'm using like HeyGen. I created my avatar. It looks actually okay, but I agree. If you as a developer receive so many things like this, you're like, the scenarios that I think is appropriate, if it's a meeting between people, I'm get so annoyed to kick out the note takers. It's so annoying, because I also don't want other note takers to be there. So I think, Chris, we discussed it. So for example, as a company, you have your like legit note taker that is going to send notes to everybody else. When it's person to person meeting, that probably should be like even online, right? So you just you don't invite so many, you don't use avatar or something like this. But with explaining interview process, to be honest, I do see it's very repetitive. And instead of sending the document, maybe I'm wrong. Instead of sending the document, I can send a nice video when my avatar is walking through the steps. She's funny. She's saying some things. So, but then there's also a document. So you can choose whatever you want to. You want to read the document, or you want to watch the AI generated video from me. But I do see the challenge as well. If you were a developer and you often asked, are you okay that this meeting is recorded and video recorded and audio recorded? You need to give consent. Then as a developer, if you join in the interview process with your note taker and recruiter is asking you to remove it, are you okay with that as well? So, would you be continuing the interview if that's... I'm not aware of recruiters using avatars to replace them at the interview. I don't think we will be the first one to do it. We will be the last one, actually, to keep our job.
Yeah, it feels weird that all this automation. I mean, as I said, like people generate podcasts and generate video podcasts with like characters like Notebook LM from Google does a really good job with that. But I just find that so wasteful. Like, I mean, if I go into a podcast, and I mean, back in the days, it was basically because I cared about the person that does that podcast, not about the content. I mean, I might as well read the links. It feels so weird to get like generated random characters reading out things to me. But I mean, it might be just an age thing, because on Instagram it drives me nuts as well. Like any video that uses a Siri det in their brain, a voice, basically, I can't be bothered. No matter how many cute puppies are in your video, just being read out by some computer voice.
I think it's a few things here. I mean, how do I use Notebook.lm is I put the article that's really interesting, but my hands are like, I'm I don't know, doing something like going to the gym or cleaning my house. So I use this audio podcast just to read me whatever I needed. It's probably very unusual, but I do it for myself, for my personal productivity, right? So the biggest advantage that we have right now is that technologies can help us to have podcasts in a very good quality. Back in the days, I couldn't have my podcast even if I wanted, but I need to be more knowledgeable, like, how to set it up, microphones, audios, all these kind of things. Now, this all like can be cleaned for you. You could look better. Your camera could adjust things. And I'm actually very, very happy about that part. And but yeah, if somebody's I mean, the real content, the real human touch, I don't know if it's going to stay in a few years. So yeah.
Scary times. Yeah, I mean, the thing that got me, I saw somebody saying on that with when Chris, you said about the automated voice, some of them are they're getting better almost every month, because there was one that sort of I saw recently, and it was meant to be a British voice, and then the person pronounced a word, a very normal word, in a way that I thought, there's no way anybody from the UK would ever, no matter what dialect or regional accent, nobody would say this word that way. And I thought, oh, it's AI. But then I realized it had taken me a while to actually realize it was AI. And I was almost surprised, because like a lot of us now, we're almost expecting it. So you're almost looking for it. And the same day or the following day, I had a message on LinkedIn from a recruiter, and it was very smart what they did. They said, I've made you a personalized video, to tell you all about the job. And then I watched the video, and this is what they did. They sort of said, hi there, and they covered their mouth just for a split second when the name is said. And then I realized that the whole script that they had sent me, the audio and everything, was all AI, and that whatever the AI tool is they're using, they've pre-recorded the video, and then they can obviously just insert the name, and it will recreate the audio with that name and the split second where they say it, hi there, Chris. So then the dubbing doesn't need to happen. And I thought, that is, I don't know how I feel about it, because I almost felt it was less genuine, because she hadn't been direct and just said, by the way, I've used, AI is, yeah. And I felt like that actually undermined the whole thing. It would be nice to know.
To do that. But I do use it. Have you heard me talking Mandarin? It's beautiful. So I didn't know how cute I sound when I talk Mandarin. So I used this AI avatar with the voice line translated to Mandarin, and I was sending to candidates in China, because some of them don't speak very good English, but I was really, really determined to approach them. But I mentioned it, say, hey, I'm trying a new cool tool. It's AI generated, but I created the text, and I wanted to reach out. So let me know what you think. So to be honest, reaction was very good. But if you don't say that you're using it, candidate feels it's not real. So it shocked people in the Congress, in the Airstream, when I told them that most of our messages that you're receiving are AI generated. They didn't expect it to hear that. And reaction was like, oh, disappointment. But then I'm explaining it. How can you imagine that I have so many roles, I have so many candidates, I need to approach them, I want to find you, and I need to use technologies for that. And yeah, most likely my reply was auto-populated because I'm using tools. And feeling bad about it, like, would you feel bad if you get the job? Because my AI reached out to you?
Yeah.
Interesting question, but I saw the reaction. People were like, oh, and I was like, I didn't know you would be disappointed.
Yeah.
It's like, for example, I get flowers from my husband, and I remind him sometimes. Am I disappointed that I received them? No, but my AI actually reminds him. I'm using AI to do it. Because it's really difficult to remind about things that you need to. So, and I don't want to be the person who is going and nagging all the time. I use AI to remind about these things. Do I feel bad that I receive flowers because he was reminded by my AI? No.
That's a fair point. I can't argue with that. Yeah.
I mean, if that happened to me, I'd probably send you virtual flowers rather than real ones, and then well, see how it feels,
Your AI can talk to mine.
So,
Agree. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, with the English accents, I mean, if it had been A up instead of AI, then you would know about Yorkshire, right?
Yeah, hey up, that needs to happen. Yeah, somebody needs to do it. Yeah, but it's true. It's like, when somebody's pronouncing something like in English, and they would never say that in real life, you just think, okay, that's AI, but it sounded so real. It's like, but do you find there's something flat about the intonation? It makes everything go a little bit like this, one note, and it probably doesn't sound that different to my normal voice, but it just takes out all of the inflection, and that's like the emotional part, isn't it, of how you speak? It's the human part. So it's that uncanny valley, like you said, Alla, when you see somebody looking at the screen, you think, is that AI? You just know in the back of your head that it's not real. And same for AI recruiters most of the time.
The pupil movement, that's actually an NVIDIA paper, and I found it interesting that it's actually built into firmware of some cameras by now already. So it's not even AI in between, it's actually coming from the hardware itself. And it's a very clever thing. It has a bit of a delay, so you actually sometimes see the pupils go a bit like that. That's how you can find it out. But but that's the same when you said, like, with the covering their mouth when they said the name. That's just deceit, isn't it? To a degree, this is what you did in the past when you faked video footage, or people did. And it's basically really bizarre that these things are cleverly done, but at the same time, we talked about that. Then there was this great movie called The Challenger. No, it doesn't matter. Basically, it's a Polish movie about a Second World War boxing champion that gets into a concentration camp, and they don't kill him because they want to have prize fights with him, with the different people in the camp, much like Bronson used to be in England. And that was the first movie where they asked the actors to actually speak it in different languages, even if they didn't speak it perfectly, and recorded only their mouth movements. So basically, when you switch the audio from the movie, it changed not only the audio track, but it also changed the mouth movement of the actor. So it looked like they're speaking the other language. And that was a model that then got bought up by several American companies, but I haven't done anything with it yet. And I find that very interesting that we do lip movement together with like audio now as one data set, so to say. But that's a tangent that completely goes off what we talked about before. We're all kind of out of time, but it's great that it was great to be here and to be on your podcast, Alla, because you took over obviously halfway in between. And
You're welcome. You're welcome.
That's why you say that WeAreDevelopers Live is never generated, because we're completely getting off the rails at times, and we didn't even cover any of the things that we wanted to talk about here. So in terms of what you wanted to cover in your talk that we didn't manage to get, is there one essence that you want to tell the world about AI and recruiting that people should be aware about, or is it something that you want to give out there?
If in this context, I think a lot of companies right now are trying to share their policies and their manifestations, or I don't know how to go about it. Oh my God, so cute. It's such a distraction. So I'm a huge fan. It's like, always it's just everything for me. So oh my God, I love this auto. As a candidate, and if you're hesitant, if the company is using AI or not using AI, to use AI for your CV or anything, try to research their website a little bit and try to find maybe, I don't know, like Reddit or anything before you apply or do anything with AI. Be certain to think about like do you want to give consent to be recorded? Like, try to make up your mind. So would you be okay that's knowing that your CV will be reviewed by AI? Maybe there is a recruiter who's going to be AI. Maybe there is a lot of AI in the process. Just try to make your mind about it, so that you also feel like, I'm okay with that. So, because I think that will help you. And never give up. Apply, continue, search for a job. Don't settle for less than you want, because the market is tough, especially if you're in gaming. Just don't settle. Continue. You will get there. So, and try to make more recruiters as your friends. So thanks so much.
What is one red flag in a CV that immediately makes you discarded?
Immediately makes it discarded. I think immediately would not be appropriate, because you still want to continue. I mean, if there's offensive words or like, something. So I would say the reasons why CV is rejected is the title is something that they're not looking for. There's not enough years of experience if they focused on that. If the company needs a degree, and if they don't see it in the CV, they're probably going to also reject it very quickly. If you make typos, I noticed that a lot of people are irritated by that. So so that's a small thing, but probably double check it. And if you're don't worry about 1 or 2 pages. Really don't worry. Do 2 pages. It's fine. So the recruiter can read 2 pages. Don't worry. But when it's unreadable, so when the text is so small that you can't just read it, so just be mindful about that small things. And if you're a manager, just talk a little bit about your management experience. Don't forget to put some things. Don't be afraid to also be a little bit more under-presenting, so that you can then explain things, because if you're too shy and too humble, it's not a bad thing. But with CV, you have to shine. You have to. This is the things I'm proud of. My CV to Netflix was actually, I just listed my 3 biggest achievements, and they invited me for the interview just to talk to me about it. And my whole CV was Alla Pavlova, based in Amsterdam, my 3 biggest achievements. Contact me. And they liked it. So because it was like type of the company that they like to have achievers and this kind of things. Sorry, it's a really long answer, but that's what we're looking for in the CV. Titles, relevant locations, relevant experience, must-haves that we list in the job description.
I think one tip that I have is get somebody else to look at your CV and do it for you, like somebody who worked with you or somebody who knows you, because you yourself, and I don't know, I mean, that might be a British-German thing, like I hate that shining thing. I hate that actually bragging about myself. So other people are much more likely to brag for you. So, or like the way they see an achievement that you actually didn't see it as an achievement. You're like, I just did that. That's not really that cool. But they're like, oh, that's an amazing achievement.
Exactly.
Like,
you can ask AI to be the role, like take a role of recruiter or somebody else, like a coach, or like, or imagine that you're a different person.
Or do a real person and ask a real person to do it, because if AI does it, then basically it ends up as a Californian CV, doesn't it?
Yeah, you have to train a little bit your AI before you get to the good answers. But there are already GPTs trained for CV review, so I think you can already benefit from some automations. By the way, Bada mentioned that also language level. Maybe in Germany it's very important. So, but most of the times I just see people just list the languages and they don't even specify how well they speak these languages. If job says must have native German, definitely mention native German.
Just as a distraction, the Owls and Towels was the fun link for today. So if you actually want to have something interesting about Owls and Towels, that's a page that keeps giving you. So
who did that? So
basically, Chris, you find all the like cute things.
When owls get weight, you have to wrap them in towels, because otherwise they flap around. So that's why people do that. And somebody started Owls and Towels, the hashtag, and then people keep collecting them and they keep coming, and it's absolutely lovely because they all look confused as hell.
This is the cutest thing ever. Thank you so much. It's necessary. So
there used to be bdogs.com, which was like dogs in bee costumes, but that page doesn't exist any longer. You see, the beautiful things of the internet die young. That's the problem with it.
You're lucky. You were in the internet when nobody knows who you are. So now, like, everything is so public. So yeah, different times.
Yeah, I'm very happy that there was no mobile phones when I was young. That was just basically like the good idea. Which brings us back to the HR big thing of the last few weeks, the whole thing about the debacle at the Coldplay concert. So
Oh
that was
yes.
an interesting win.
Now
I mean,
not as a real world to be cold plate, right?
yeah, I mean, what a horrible public, embarrassing way to find out that your spouse listens to Coldplay. Like,
This is spouse, yes, likes the Coldplay. Yeah, I think this is a lot of people talk about it, and some people said that yeah, if they wouldn't react, so people will just bypass it, and nothing could happen. So the reaction was human, and they get. I think a few lives and marriages just get ruined, and yeah, it's a drama. So to be honest, it's a drama. Now a lot of fun stuff generated with scams. Like I saw you guys, WeAreDevelopers, did something, or I thought I saw a few memes. Like people try to make fun of it, right? So now, but yeah, it's a bit challenging now.
it makes you wonder if it actually was good PR for the company, because nobody
No, it
knows
was
what.
not. It's not a good PR. No, I think he already lost the job, or will lose the job, and
Yeah,
to
he
be HR, like head of HR. So I mean, yeah, kind of. I know that if you would like to date somebody in your HR, you kind of have to quit the job. So there's some moral things. I'm not judging here, but I think it's just. Being you kind of have to probably live and think that everything you do is recorded, everywhere you go is recorded, and you're a public person in a public place. Yeah, so yeah, it's interesting. Let's finish with something more positive. So what is the next episode for live session with WeAreDevelopers? What are you going to do?
Well, what we normally do is now we go through the other people that weren't recorded. So basically, we're gonna be talking to Tim Kartenbach from DeepL, who does they do language generation, language translation kind of stuff. So that's going to be interesting. But we also had a new feature, or we thought about a new feature that, like, who would you like us to have on the show? Is there somebody that you think would be good for the show and we should invite?
Yeah, I can name a few people who are building or people in recruitment.
Building.
Okay, so I can drop a few very humble engineers that are working in the do you know anything about low latency?
Like
Low latency infrastructure. So it's what I've noticed, people in broadcasting, people who works with servers and network engineers, they do so many interesting things that I don't understand. So I will recommend you just a few people from that area, because this is where I was like really recently fascinated by the scale they do, and all this kind of interesting network stuff. But I hope it's interesting for you.
Cool, yeah. I mean, I know a few people from Netflix and people like that do streaming stuff and the latency bits there. It's interesting because my TV now tells me that I can play Borderlands on the TV, like it's streaming now on Amazon memory stick. And the latency of that thing is basically the menu items take like 2 seconds to unfold. So I'm not quite sure how much joy I would have in this 8-year-old TV to play a AAA game on it. But it seems like that's the new thing that everybody's going to. Like, I mean, Spotify went for podcasts. Now they went for Amazon Prime goes for games on your TV. It seems like the whole markets are merging together, and it's really weird to do that. But I found games always to be a good test platform for like performance of I mean, when I worked on browsers, we always looked at like gaming in the browser to basically optimize everything for performance. And if that game is smooth, then probably the scrolling of the page will be as well. But yeah, it always feels like add more hardware, and on the web you never have that chance. You never know what people use to actually watch your thing.
Oh, and the interviews, actually, this is an indication what's network engineer suggesting, to add more hardware, or they have a better solution, because the hardware is the software, they're already in such high level and they're so expensive. So I think now it's more like how creative you are. Can you find solutions? Can you, put some pressure on other things and smooth things? So I don't know, broadcasting seems to be like super fun, but also like, things can go wrong so big, because we spoke about Coldplay as well. Like, things go online on the screen, and it's like, yeah, I think it's, if there's any interest in this topic, infrastructure and networking, so why not? So I will be happy to recommend some cool cats.
Cool. Anything last words from you, Dan?
Oh, just to say thank you, Alan. We'll definitely have to have you back, whether it's on here or on another episode of Coffee with Developers, because I think we've got another host, and in a good way. That's only a compliment. It's brilliant. You were great. Thank you.
No, thanks so much. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Cool. So that was WeAreDevelopers Live for today. So we're gonna get offline now, and we're not gonna go offline, but we're gonna go out of live into mode to upload this and then edit it. And it was great to have you all here. Thanks for all the questions, and very much thanks you, Alla, for covering and basically repeating what you kind of wanted to say on stage, but we didn't get you to do because the recording didn't work out. So see you next Wednesday together with Tim Kartenbach of DeepL, who doesn't know it yet. So probably I hope that he will have time next Wednesday. And if not, we're just going to make an avatar of him and basically make him say important things.
Exactly.
See you soon.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.